Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of my F1 2021 My Team Career Mode, episode number 10 today for the Russian Grand Prix in Season 1. And heading into this one, we come off the back of very hectic and crazy Italian Grand Prix, probably one of my favourite races of the season so far in terms of entertainment value. Heading into this one, we have a real sign of progress for our team because for once we've actually overtaken a few teams in the R&D charts, but with everything good it comes with something bad, and we're going to have to finally take a penalty for our control electronics after that one failed in Austria all that time ago. Another addition heading into this one, we have a slightly updated livery. We've replaced the brown at the back of the car with a blue colour instead, and that's just a little thing to change things up for the rest of the season. So that is that. We move through Q1 relatively swiftly and are able to get through sitting down in 15th position, but still getting through nonetheless. Marino Sato unfortunately knocked out, but he did outqualify both Hasses and Williams, but not able to outqualify the Alfa Romeos. Notably, Yuki Tsunoda knocked out there as well, so it's a bit of a weird one. Obviously, he didn't quite get his best sectors together on this occasion. But anyway, we move through now into Q2 for ourselves. This is the end of our first flyer in Q2, and we set a lap good enough to get us into 7th position at the time. We dropped down into 15th by the time everyone sets their first lap times, only ahead of Lance Stroll, so we will need to improve if we want to get any higher up the grid. Because of our penalty, we need to qualify at least 11th or better to not start last, so that is my current goal. We realistically probably need to get into Q3 to really make any notable difference, otherwise we might as well take more penalties, but we'll see what happens as we come around to close off this flying lap. Will we be able to get into Q3? It will be a huge ask for us, but I think we may have just done it. That lap had a good amount of improvement over the previous one, so I think we may just be able to. When we do, we are into Q3 up in 7th position, and that was a very important lap in the context of our weekend, because that means at worst we're going to be starting 20th, and that is assuming no one else is taking penalties. If anyone else is taking penalties, we could improve on that position even further. Q3, I'm not going to bother showing any running there because we qualified last. We couldn't compete with these top runners, unfortunately, so yeah, that's to be expected. But Danny Rick on the front row, so that's a great result for him after his, spoiler alert, win in the previous round. Great effort there. Hamilton takes pole position, Bottas starting 3rd.
So, unfortunately, we've picked up some grid penalties, and we'll be starting further back than you expect. As for how bad it is, that'll depend on what the other drivers get.
And of course the audio issues returned, so that's always great. Welcome along then to Sochi and the Russian Grand Prix, one of 8 cities in the world to play host to both the Olympics and a Formula 1 race. It's a Grand Prix that's proven difficult to crack for anyone beyond the first 2 rows of the grid in recent years, so let's see if that can change today. Built on the shores of the Black Sea, the Sochi Autodrome is a 3.6 mile tour around some of the venues built for the 2014 Winter Olympic Games. Close barriers make overtaking more challenging, but with 56% of the lap taken absolutely flat out, we certainly won't be wanting for pure speed. A fitting arena then to do battle at the pinnacle of motorsport. It's just about time to go to the track for the beginning of the race, but before we do, Anthony Davidson, what types of strategy do you think we can expect for today's event? Well, there's a lot that both the driver and the team have to keep in mind when going into a race. Tyres, fuel, energy recovery systems, the list goes on and on. But I think the key to today's victory will come down to pit stop strategy. Come in too soon and you might find yourself needing more than one stop. Too late and you're putting yourself at a disadvantage by spending longer on worn tyres. With the race minutes away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. An immense lap from Lewis Hamilton yesterday puts him on pole position, and Valtteri Bottas will line up alongside. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Verstappen, Leclerc, Sergio Perez and Norris, Sainz, Gasly, Fernando Alonso and Sebastian Vettel, Ricciardo, they've taken a grid penalty, Giovinazzi, Kimi Raikkonen and Stroll, Tsunoda, Sato, George Russell and the scientist. They'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Latifi, Ocon, Mick Schumacher, they've taken a grid penalty, and Nikita Mazepin. It's almost time for those 5 red lights to go out, then let's see who can prevail today.
Now that we've got some points on the board, let's continue this form and aim for another top 10 finish.
That's my Jeff voice. Also my music awkwardly ran a little bit short there, but anyway, that's fine. Let's not worry about that too much. I had to re-record the intro, seeing as the audio issues messed it all up. Just the Xbox doing its thing, and you heard a little glimmer of the issues there, but thankfully they resolve themselves by the time we get underway for the Russian Grand Prix, and it is a decent start for us as we head down towards the first corner. Russell initially got away badly in the second phase, much better, and now we're under fire from a lot of other cars. Nicholas Latifi, Esteban Ocon and the Haas is behind us. The virtual safety car is out, and that was not very long between the start of the race and the virtual safety car there, and it is for Esteban Ocon, who was having a little peek up the inside and smashed his front wing off on our right rear tyre. Got squeezed between us and the wall, and yeah, it was just a little bit too keen on the inside. We'll have a look on board with Ocon, and yeah, you can see he just has a little overlap as we're trying to make the apex of the corner and trying to give some space to the Williams car there on the outside. I think that was Latifi at that point. I wanted to give him as much space as possible, and yeah, Ocon just had his nose in on the inside, and potentially should have lifted and backed out of that one. Meanwhile, at the front, Lewis Hamilton got away well. Valtteri Bottas not so, and Max Verstappen is challenging the Finn around the outside as they head up towards turn 2. Hamilton is not giving Bottas the slipstream like I thought he might, but that is Sergio Perez up the inside, and he's going to grab both of them here as a virtual safety car is called out there. Perez was marginally ahead, so Perez up into second position, Bottas third, and Verstappen fourth, but it's Lewis Hamilton who leads the way.
Delta until the green flags.
At the moment, we are in 18th position, so where we started, as we send one up the inside of George Russell, and we try to keep the momentum going on the apex and find out we do not have the downforce for that. We sort of accidentally squeezed him to the edge very, very harshly there. I wanted to get the move done by carrying a bit more speed. I didn't quite mean to do that, and he drops a spot to Mick Schumacher and to his teammate Nicholas Latifi. Now we got up the inside of Kimi Raikkonen as well, and make that move much more cleanly on the Finn, and that brings us up into 16th position in this race, which is much more like it. Meanwhile, behind, poor old Nikita Mazepin is stuck behind Esteban Ocon with the broken front wing. That's unfortunate for the Russian at his home race, and Esteban Ocon gets that front wing changed because, well, he didn't have one, and now he does, and he can continue on with his day, but it will be a long afternoon for the Frenchman here. We continue on, and we go for a dive on Yuki Tsunoda, as he's caught up in a very long train of cars up here. I don't know who's at the head of this train, but clearly someone is lacking some pace further up the field. But anyway, we continue on. We have a look up the inside of our teammate Marino Sato, side by side into the second and third corners, but Sato is going to hold on there as we slide in behind once again. Further up the road though, Valtteri Bottas goes for the move on Sergio Perez. This is for second position. Lewis Hamilton is further up the road. You can see a glimpse of him just there, but yeah, Valtteri Bottas now around the outside of turn 3. It's a long way around here, but if he can just keep the nose in, he'll have the inside for turn 4, and he does. Sends it into turn 4, and he will take that position. Valtteri Bottas up into second position, Perez down to third, and Max Verstappen will be looking at the back of his teammate very, very shortly as he tries to reclaim some positions in this race. Meanwhile, we continue on and try again on our teammate up the inside into turn 2 once again, and this time he sees us coming, gives us a bit of room, and we're able to sweep through around the outside of turn 3. Hopefully we'll be able to get the move done here. We're leaving plenty of space on the inside in case he wants to keep this fight going, but thankfully we are able to get the move done, but a little bit deep. And on the exit, it's a great one for Sato, and he's up the inside as we run side by side through the next right-hander, but Sato's lots in. I think we have the position now, but yeah, that took a few more corners than what I would have liked. But yeah, now we need to try and catch up to Antonio Giovinazzi. We should be faster than the Alfa Romeos around this track, but Sato is not going to make that easy, because he gets back up the inside, and we just let him go there to try and get the better exit, but Sato holds on, and I'm thinking at this point maybe Sato just has the better pace because he seems very, very quick. Meanwhile, again, further up the road, this is Max Verstappen making the move on Sergio Perez up the inside into turn 2, and Perez is actually going to fight this one as they run side by side through turn 3 now. Max Verstappen all the way around the outside, but he's got a lot more of the car alongside than Bottas, so I assume that Max Verstappen will be able to get this done relatively easily, and he does so. Max Verstappen up into 3rd position, Perez down into 4th. But meanwhile, it is time for us to come in for our first pit stop. Actually, a couple of laps early, but I just wasn't enjoying these soft compound tyres, so I thought it would be good to get rid of those, get some medium tyres on, and get going once again. Pierre Gasly in the pits at the same time as us as well. As we come out of pit lane, we had a bit of a moment there. Hard to tell behind the barriers, but yes, we did have a bit of a moment. And now we're side by side with Esteban Ocon to go very deep and just about make sure we stay ahead of him. And I believe he is our rival, if I remember correctly. Not 100% sure. It might be Gasly, or was Gasly the first rival? I can't even remember at this point. But nonetheless, we want to try and stay ahead of him, because we've got fresh tyres, so we'll have the pace anyway over Esteban Ocon, and we pull away eventually anyway. But yeah, as we continue on, cars making pit stops throughout this race, and we'll be finding our way forwards. That is Yuki Tsunoda, who's made a stop there, and that we will also be overtaking some cars as well as we make our way past Kimi Raikkonen, who is obviously on old tyres at the moment, and that brings us up into 19th position. But in corrected order, I think we're probably in the top 15. It's really hard to say at this point where we truly are, but I'm hoping we can get some positions with the undercut here.
No need to worry about tyre condition for now. Everything's looking good.
And yeah, as we continue on, we overtake Mazepin, Latifi, and our teammate Sato, who we are way ahead of now, as they make their pit stops. Next up is George Russell on track.
Russell ahead. Okay, gap ahead is 0.8 seconds. They're on old mediums. Their tyres are 17 laps old. We think they've got 2 stops remaining. The time last lap was a 1 minute 40.3.
And with a nice move down the inside into turn 2, we get past George Russell in the Williams car there, and bring ourselves up and into 15th position, sort of where I think we might be in this race. There might be more cars yet to make stops in this race, and indeed there are, because that is Mick Schumacher heading into the pit lane ahead of us, so we're actually higher than what maybe I expected us to be. The undercut getting us a few positions, it seems, and we get past Mick Schumacher, and Fernando Alonso is coming out of pit lane ahead of us. Are we going to be able to grab Fernando Alonso? There he is on the pit exit. We're going to grab some slipstream on the run up into towards turn 2, but we're not going to get close enough, and Fernando Alonso is going to hold on. But look how much we closed up in the braking zone, being able to take the full width of the racing line, compared to Alonso, who was a little bit boxed in after coming out of the pits. We continue on then, and more cars in pits. Vettel making a stop. He was definitely ahead of us, and we've jumped him, and we're actually up into 11th place now.
We're currently P11. Alonso is ahead of you. Okay, gap ahead is 1.6 seconds.
And once again, apologies for the audio issues, just Xbox doing its thing. But you can see the race director here, and the real mix of strategies. Some people going 2 sets of softs so far, some people using 2 sets of mediums so far, and some people using 1 of each, like myself. So it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out towards the end. It looks like Lewis Hamilton has spent his tokens early, so to speak, and has used up 2 sets of soft tyres in the early phases. That will give an opportunity to Bottas in the closing stages.
For now. Keep taking care of them.
And yeah, that will be interesting to see how that plays out. We continue on up into the top 10 now as more pit stops are made. So that's great news for us as we're heading towards our final stop now. There wasn't a lot of on-track action in that stint. Sato actually makes his last stop before us. I'm not sure what tyre strategy he is on. Maybe he's using soft in that stint, I actually don't know. But nonetheless, we come in for our stop. Vettel incidentally was right on our rear gearbox. F1 cars do not have bumpers, don't call it a rear bumper. Into the pits we go, more medium tyres on the car, and we exit pit lane and complete the race on these tyres. So we come out of pit lane in 14th position, so still in a decent position even now, with more to come, let's hope. So we'll push on and see what plays out throughout the rest of this race. We'll get a bit of an undercut, so we should get a bit more of a buffer over Sebastian Vettel once he makes his stop in a little while. And incidentally, here comes that is Fernando Alonso in pit lane, and we're actually going to jump Fernando Alonso, who was ahead of us, so that is great that we've managed to do that. And that's us up into 12th position, with many more stops to come for the cars ahead. Actually only 2 more, not as many as I thought. Vettel and Antonio Giovinazzi still yet to make their final stops, but here the fight between the 2 Red Bull cars continues. That is about Max Verstappen going around the outside of Sergio Perez into the final sector, and Sergio Perez is actually going to keep this fight going into the final 4 corners of the circuit. Sergio Perez is going to hold on around the outside to the inside, and he's going to have the next 2 inside line for the corners, but he won't need them because Perez holds on as it is, and Verstappen's going to need to find another way past. He'll have a good dose of DRS and slipstream though along the main straight here, because he is right tucked in behind Sergio Perez. So here he comes then with the DRS open. Max Verstappen surely will get past his teammate here as they head up towards turn 2. Once again, Max Verstappen is trying to make the move on Sergio Perez around the outside, and he's going to get through there a little bit over the curbs for Verstappen, but nonetheless he makes the move stick on his teammate, and Max Verstappen is up into 3rd position in this race. Meanwhile, further back in the field, that is Antonio Giovinazzi making his final stop. Sebastian Vettel's in the pit lane as well, and we clear both of them and bring ourselves up into the top 10 positions out of 22. So no DNFs in this race so far. We'll see if that continues, but here's the fight for the lead then. Valtteri Bottas going for the race lead, side by side and getting through and moving ahead of Lewis Hamilton. Valtteri Bottas takes the lead of the Russian Grand Prix in some style, using the soft tyres at the end of the race, and it's worked out very well for him, and he'll have the pace advantage now, and you can see he's already pulling away from his teammate. So Valtteri Bottas on the correct strategy and making it work. Meanwhile, we need to do some serious defensive work because Fernando Alonso is flying down the inside, side by side through turn 2. We're up and over the curbs, but we maintain the position ahead of Fernando Alonso, but it's not going to last long surely, because he is very, very quick in that Alpine car. So we're going to need to watch out for him, because he will go for another opportunity as soon as it arises. So as we continue on, Fernando Alonso to the left as we go side by side. We give him a little bit of a squeeze towards the wall there, but we hold on to the position once again and are able to be late enough on the brakes to keep him behind us for a little bit longer. That is our best form of defense, is just braking super late into the corners and worrying about the exit when we get to it. So as we continue on though, it is actually not Alonso we need to worry about. He's dropped back. I think he actually got some front wing damage at some point, but I didn't actually find out when that happened. We've actually got Sebastian Vettel behind us now as he goes to the inside through the long left-hander. Vettel around the outside of turn 4, but we hold on to that position. We actually very rudely squeezed him out of road there, so that wasn't particularly great, but nonetheless we hold on to the position ahead of Sebastian Vettel and maintain this 1 point that we are currently holding on to. Vettel again down the inside into the first corner. We're late on the brakes around the outside once again, and we're going to hold on to the position super late into turn 2 there, but yeah, we're able to hold on. But meanwhile, up the road, Valtteri Bottas has done the job today as he comes around the final 2 corners. Valtteri Bottas is going to win the Russian Grand Prix. Great drive from the Finn, and he will be happy to get some more points on the board. Good for his championship hopes. Now Sebastian Vettel trying one final time as he looks towards the outside line through into the last sector. We're going to be late on the brakes, very late, and we'll just about pull it up, and that is the last bit of defending. I think what we need to do is rerun a little bit wide there, but Vettel's nowhere near us, and we will be able to hold on to this one and hold on to one crucial point here in the Russian Grand Prix. That is a very defensive drive for us in the end there, as we have to we defended a bit there, probably didn't need to, but around the final corner we come to cross the line in P10.
Race over. Take care of the car on the way in.
More points for the team. I will certainly take that.
Yes, another historic win under their belts. Well done to the team at Mercedes. What do you think it was, Ant, that gave them the edge over the competition today?
Well, they certainly stood out as a driver with tons of confidence on the track. I think their ability to keep their cool, even during some of the more hectic parts of the race, meant they were able to capitalise on the mistakes of other drivers, giving them the opportunity to make their way to the top spot with ease.
Mercedes are on top form once again after an excellent race weekend. It's great to see them up on that podium once again.
Well, lap 1 may not have gone well for Valtteri Bottas, but it's the end result that counts. He takes the top spot here in Russia. Lewis Hamilton finishes in P2 with Max Verstappen in 3rd.
After this round of the World Championship, here's how things look in the drivers' table. That lead at the top of the table has shrunk somewhat today. Now, let's discuss, Ant. Who would you say is a contender for driver of the day?
I have to give it to the scientist. There was a lot going on all down the field, but they were the only one who I really felt maximised their potential.
Let's move on to the constructors. Mercedes continue to extend their lead. Well, Ant, an end to another fantastic weekend of racing. Thanks to everyone who joined us, and we'll see you for the next one.
So Max Verstappen continues to dominate the season, but Bottas extending his gap over Hamilton in the fight for 2nd and 3rd. Not over till it's over, of course. We're only just past the halfway point realistically, so still a long way to go. But yeah, there was the damage for Esteban Ocon that brought out the VSC on the opening lap of the race. It didn't really affect too much in the end. Put Ocon out of the fight for points. Not that he probably would have been in the fight, to be completely honest, with how far back he started. I mean, we were fighting off Fernando Alonso, who started further up the field. So, yeah, I imagine Ocon probably wouldn't have been in the fight with us based on that. But you never know, of course, what would have happened. You know, if this, if that. But anyway. Very, very happy that we could score points after taking that grid penalty. I thought this would be a bit of a dud race for us and we'd just be putting around in 15th place, not really doing too much. But yeah, a bit of good strategy work had helped us with a few undercuts, and that put us in a good position, and we were able to defend it, and we had the pace to defend it, and that's the key. We, you know, overall haven't had the pace to fight with the likes of Alpines and Aston Martins. We could try, and on occasion we could, but yeah, it was always a little bit tough to try and defend from them. Obviously we had a great scrap with Esteban Ocon and one of the Aston Martins, I forget which, maybe both, in Monza until Ocon binned it along the straight. But yeah, it was very good to genuinely have the pace to to fight the likes of Fernando Alonso. He was definitely faster, but we were able to stay in contention much better than what we have in the past. And the upgrades to our car are certainly starting to pay off. And around this circuit, the car felt really good, and I was really enjoying driving it around here. So very positive signs for the rest of the season. So let's keep pushing and hope for more results in the future.
Great work out there today. Let's have your... How do you feel these grid penalties are affecting the sport?
It's just part of the game. Obviously, focusing on reliability is a big deal in terms of saving costs and so on. So, you know, when things do go wrong, we have to pay the price for it, unfortunately, but that's just the way it is.
You're surpassing all expectations. Can anything or anyone stop you?
We'll have to wait and see.
How do you think this team will be feeling after that result?
Alfa Romeo, yeah, they had a car in 13th, so that's probably one of their better results that they could have hoped for in this race, given everything that happened, so I'll be okay with that.
You had a bit of contact today. Who was at fault there?
I had the contact with Esteban Ocon. Yeah, I don't know what he was doing there, to be honest. Trying to get up the inside where there's no space.
Appreciate your time.
Thanks, Claire. Well, that brings the Russian Grand Prix weekend to a close. We beat Esteban Ocon in our rivalry, so that's good. Some rivalry we have going at the moment, it seems, with that contact. It was very desperate to get up the inside into the first corner. There was never going to be space there, so I maintain that was his fault. But we complete both our sponsor objectives, get a pile of cash for that. So that is all awesome news on that front. $1.66 million in the bank. And straight away back at HQ we have a department event, so let's go to that.
We've got an issue we'd like your input on.
So the team want to test out an initiative to give some staff members a bit of time off to unwind, and that will improve the morale, but it will obviously have an effect on the productivity of the departments. So the net result is a 20% increase in the chassis department morale and a loss of 750 resource points, or we can decline it and changes absolutely nothing. So this is actually an interesting one because what I suppose morally the right choice is actually very different to what gives the better outcome, but 750 resource points is a lot. We can buy an upgrade or maybe even two with that, so...
Thanks. I know these kinds of decisions can be challenging, but I think you made the right call.
Yeah, we had to deny them that one, unfortunately. I think if we're later in at a later stage, we might consider it, you know, if we could regularly fight for points, but right now I just don't want to throw away, you know, one or two upgrades on the car potentially. So yeah, that's why we've done that. But gonna do the reaction training for our teammate there, as you have just seen in the timeline, and let's continue on with the rest of the HQ stuff. And the first thing we're going to do is improve the build time in the aerodynamics facility. We get a power unit upgrade, a reshaped combustion chamber. That frees up a slot in the power unit department for a major ERS upgrade to the magnetic compound.
Okay, we've had the new parts come through the fabrication process. We'll have them with us for the next Grand Prix.
And that upgrade was a cable assembly upgrade on the chassis side. That frees up another slot that we can use. We'll upgrade the plank, a minor weight redistribution upgrade. That will be in for the Mexican Grand Prix. And now we're starting to dig into those resource points that we just saved from that department event a moment ago. So moving through the timeline then, we get the reaction training done for our teammates, and that will help his focus and awareness. So a quick look at the championship standings for both myself and my teammate. Sato is still at the bottom of the table with a best result of 14th. He'll need at least a 13th to move ahead of Nikita Mazepin. We're just about holding on to a spot inside the top 10. We're equal with Carlos Sainz for 10th and 11th, but we are ahead courtesy of our 5th place position versus Sainz's best result of 7th. So I think that's all there is to cover for this one, so I will say thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. Feel free to give me some feedback in the comments, I would really appreciate it, and other than that, see you later.